Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on a Saturday morning. Here at Fountain Valley, we're excited to have you guys join us today and learn a little bit about college readiness here at Fountain Valley School. My name is Santiago Durango. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at Fountain Valley School. I've only been here for 6 months, but my previous experience have been in college admissions. I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation with some fantastic panelists that we have on board. Joining us today will be Megan Harlan, who is our current head of school here at Fountain Valley. And then joining us will also be 2 alumni and 2 current students, 2 current seniors actually, that are experiencing the college process currently as well. I just wanted to share before we get started a few admissions announcements and updates. As you guys know, our early action deadline was December 15th. But if you have started the process and are nearing completion or you're close to done, get in touch with our office and we'll be able to help support you and possibly get you into our early action decision. So if you have any supplemental material sort of that you're still trying to work on acquiring, if you get that in before January 15th, we can get you an early decision in February. No rush though, we still have a regular decision with a deadline of February 1st, and that'll get you the decision on March 10th as well. As you're working through this process, if you have any questions or need any support, please do not hesitate to reach out to our office. We're here to support you. And yeah, again, joining us today will be Harlan, who is our current head of school. So I will hand the floor off to her to introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful day here in Colorado Springs. I'm excited to have this opportunity to talk to you. College counseling is something that is near and dear to my heart. Before being a head of school and before being an assistant head of school, I spent 25 years as a college counselor. I believe that college counseling is an integral part of any prep school, that it's another step in our educational process. I loved my time as a college counselor, with the exception of head of school. I really think it's one of the best jobs on any campus. It's an incredible opportunity to get to know adolescents, to help shepherd them through a time where they're learning about themselves and thinking about what they want to do. And it's just, I loved it. And I also thought that it gave me an incredible insight, not only to every aspect of the schools that I worked at, but into the larger realm of education. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of the importance I place in this office. I have some exciting news that I can't quite share all the way, but next week there will be an announcement for our new director of college counseling. Our current director, Doug Badger, is retiring, and I'm very excited by the pool that we just had. We had 3 finalists. Natalie, who you'll meet soon, was one of the interviewers, and our top candidate accepted the job, and next week we'll have an announcement. He is someone who is coming with 30 years of experience in college counseling, 15 years as a director of college counseling. So I'm taking this hire very seriously and want to make sure that we have someone who is highly skilled in this area. So that's very exciting. I've worked with this person before. I've attended conferences that he has led and know that he has just the right balance for Fountain Valley. I think it's really important to know that going forward, that we will have a comprehensive program that will begin in 10th grade. It'll exist to make sure that kids don't fall through the cracks. It won't exist to put pressure on students, but just to give students another set of eyes on their curriculum, on their activities, and answer any questions. Sometimes with the college process, myths can exist, and it's helpful for students to have those myths addressed as they work forward. So I'm very excited, not only for the future of Fountain Valley School, but the future of our college counseling office, and really grateful to our students who have showed up on a Saturday morning And I look forward to hearing what they have to say. And if I'm not here to answer any of your questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime at my email, which is mharlan@fvs.edu. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, and look for our announcement next week. So exciting times. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. And before I introduce our panelists, I do want to go over sort of some Zoom etiquette. If we can ask if you guys could please stay muted until the Q&A, which will take place towards the end, or if you have any questions for the panelists, myself or Ms. Harlan, if you want to utilize the chat feature, we'll be happy to collect and address those questions towards the end. For the remainder of the session, we'll be hearing from our awesome panelists and hearing a little bit about themselves and sort of their college journey, whether how it's going right now or how it sort of went and where they're at right now in their college journey as well. So without further ado, let's start introducing some of our panelists. And what I'll have the panelists do is sort of introduce themselves with their name, their grade year, their hometown, what involvement they had here at Fountain Valley School, and what current college or university they are at with their major, or what their college search list, in Natalie and Maddie's case, what it looks like as well. And we'll expand upon that in further conversation as we dive into the panel. But which one of our panelists would like to be the brave soul to volunteer first? All right, I saw Maddie's hand up, so I'll have Maddie go first, and then I'll have you follow, Mason, all right?
Hi guys, my name is Madison, but everyone calls me Maddie. I'm a senior at Fountain Valley right now. I live in Pueblo, Colorado. And right now I have applied to about 8 schools, and I'm kind of narrowing my top choices. And I'm actually right now looking at Fort Collins, CSU Fort Collins, and then West Virginia University and New Haven, Connecticut. I actually just got a scholarship there. So we're just kind of looking at my options right now, and things have been going good. But yeah, I plan to major in sociology with an emphasis in criminology, and then probably minor in Spanish.
Awesome. Thank you, Maddie. Exciting to hear you got a scholarship at UNH. Great news. Awesome. Thank you. Mason.
Yeah, my name is Mason Burdett. I'm from Houston, Texas. I graduated from Fountain Valley in the class of 2022. I'm currently at Texas A&M. I'm studying general engineering, and going to be picking my discipline after the end of my freshman year. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you, Mason. Who would like to go next? Awesome. Thanks, Owen.
I can go. Howdy, morning, everyone. My name's Owen Rask. I think I'm the oldest of the group here. I graduated in 2019, so I've been away from FVS for quite a bit. I'm from Colorado Springs, and I actually got a Becher scholarship, and I went to Colorado College, so I stayed local in town. I'm majoring in economics, minoring in political philosophy, and also mathematics, specifically mathematical modeling. And I'm currently applying for other scholarships to pursue grad school beyond my time after I graduate from Colorado College. At FVS, what was I involved in? I was 4-year varsity tennis player, captain senior year. I worked in the admissions office. I was a peer mentor. I did some musicals and theater, I think. And I was student body president. I think those are the main ones from what I remember. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's great to know that Owen was one of our class leaders. And then last but not least is Natalie, another one of our current class leaders here.
Hi, my name is Natalie. I graduate this year. I'm a senior, and I'm from Moab, Utah. I'm currently student body president, and I'm an RA and an admission ambassador, and captain of the soccer team and some other things. Oh, and my college list. Currently, I have applied to 18 schools, which is a little insane. Some of my top schools are Harvey Mudd, Claremont McKenna, Bowdoin, Bates, St. Andrews in Scotland, and I'm from Utah, so I also applied to University of Utah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for those introductions, and we'll get started with our first question. And this one will be open to anybody. How much did your time at FVS shape your college search or your college experience currently as well? What would be some examples of that?
I can start with this one. I remember specifically being at FVS and sort of continuing to learn in a very smaller community-based environment really sort of influenced my choice between looking at larger and smaller schools when I was doing my college search. I specifically, after spending time at FVS, was much more considering smaller liberal arts. So for instance, I ended up at one at Colorado College, but my college searches were actually a lot of the same schools mentioned. I looked at all the Claremont schools, Pomona, Claremont McKenna specifically, Carleton in Minnesota, Occidental out in California. I also personally just wanted to stay west, being from Colorado. But yeah, I think definitely the sort of smaller community focus was one thing that I really appreciated when I was at FVS and continued to try and search for when I was looking at colleges.
Awesome. Thank you, Owen. Mason?
Yeah, I can chime in here. So I think shaping like kind of my college search, focusing on that specifically, I kind of leaned on my counselors quite a bit there because coming into my senior year and a little bit towards the end of my junior year, I had like 50 colleges that I wanted to go to. I never really had a dream school. It was just kind of like these could all kind of fit my description, and really working on narrowing that down because I kind of had a cap on my parents. They said, this is how much we'll pay in application fees. After that, you're out of pocket. And as a senior in high school, at a boarding school, I was pretty broke. So I really needed to work with them to narrow down my list, find out what I really wanted from a school. And I was able to work with the counselors to really kind of shape up that list. And I ended up applying to 10 schools. And every single one of those schools had a very attractive factor to me. And I think that working on finding what I really wanted was an important part of my college search process that I really leaned on the college counseling office for at FES.
Awesome. That's been great. Natalie?
I think one of the biggest things I learned in my 4 years that I've been here has been to ask for help from teachers. So that kind of one-on-one teacher or professor relationship has become really important to me. So like Owen said, when I was looking at schools, obviously University of Utah is quite big, but I was really looking for that smaller, more personal relationship with your teachers. That way, you're not just a number. And so that was something that was really important. And I like the small liberal arts style of learning. So I tried to keep with that.
Awesome. And Maddie?
I think another thing to note that's also really helped me is that the teachers at Fountain Valley, it doesn't even have to be a college counselor, but the teachers at the school all have so many different diverse backgrounds that chances are you're able to find someone who has somewhat experience in things that you're kind of looking for, or again, like any of the panelists said, if you really just need help, there's always someone and a resource that you can go to. I know Mr. Durango, he's helped me a lot with my college search and just trying to find colleges that really fit for what I'm trying to accomplish in my life. And I think that's also really helped me narrow down what colleges I wanted to apply to.
Awesome. Before we head into the next question, one thing I would like to point out too, and it goes for all the families here that are looking for a new school, something that the panelists have said is, I like to call it the R&R. A lot of research, finding things that they like and enjoy and the passions that they want to continue to carry on. But I think Mason hit it kind of on the spot, is a lot of reflection. It's a lot of soul searching and figuring out what is it that you need, what is it that you don't like, and what are the opportunities you would like at this new chapter as well. So thank you, panelists, for that insight. And we'll move on to our next question. How would you describe the college search process? As these prospective students are looking at a new school, what piece of advice would you have for them?
I can chime in here. It's not an easy process. It's long, it's grueling, takes a lot of time and effort, a lot of research, like Mr. Durango was saying. And to just kind of piggyback off what I was saying before, I mean, it's a lot of it's based on the research and just kind of finding what you really want. Like, so if I had a piece of advice, like some of the important questions that I kind of asked myself was, what are the class sizes going to look like? Sports offered? What's the level of the course rigor? Will this be challenging for me? And that was an important question for me, just because I know that, academic adversity, being able to face that can, very well translate into facing adversity in your day-to-day, in your real life. And being able to really kind of challenge yourself in the classroom, I think that translates to challenging yourself in real life. And that translates to, real world skills. And so that's another important question that I asked myself. Do I want to go to a big or small school? Owen touched on that. He went to Fountain Valley, is a relatively small school, and he's now at Colorado College, another relatively small school. That's an important question you want to ask. And then, does where I'm looking at have the resources that are going to help me pursue what I'm passionate in? So obviously, you might have 4 out of 5 boxes checked, but if you're super passionate about music, or you're super passionate about writing or engineering or something very specific, you want to make sure that you're going somewhere that can help you foster that and really help you improve in that and work towards that. Because if you're stuck somewhere that has 4 out of 5 boxes checked, but it's not, you have that one box that's unchecked that is really important to you, you're just not going to have a good time. And so my one piece of advice is ask yourself the important questions and then really focus on finding the answers to those. And you can reach out to students, you can reach out to faculty, reach out to admissions. Take the time to answer those questions so that you don't end up somewhere you don't like.
Yeah. Awesome. Natalie, and then on.
I think something that I found really important, obviously I'm not done with the college process, but something that I thought that was really helpful was we do like a college workshop starting in the latter half of your junior year, and it's like a scheduled block. I think it's like once every 2 weeks. And what we did during those blocks was we set up a Common App account. We looked at score. They helped us like ask the questions that Mason was talking about, kind of filtering through and finding what schools worked for you. And then also like there were workshops available to help with your essays. So you could have like an English teacher read your essay, or that was actually a graded assignment. The beginning of this year was your Common App essay. So I thought those were really helpful. And the college search process overall, the financial stuff is my least favorite part for sure, because they're not helpful at all at College Board, but luckily the college office here is really helpful. So Mr. Badger and I sat down one day and we're on the phone for 3 hours, so we got it sorted out. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you,
I
Natalie.
think my biggest piece of advice would be, I do agree that it's very important to do research, figure out what you want, but at a certain point you have to sort of, once you narrow it down, most colleges, if you go to them, I truly believe, and you spend the time and you invest in the community, you can get a great education, a great experience. I think the thing that was really important for me is I remember I had narrowed down my college search down to 3. I was looking at Claremont, McKenna, Carleton, and Colorado College. Those sort of my big 3. I'll see the names. And I was like, okay, time to actually visit them. And I remember, because I obviously visited Colorado College first, and one thing I loved about it was that it was a warm, beautiful day. Everyone was outside. People were, sitting outside, reading, talking, hanging out, and it was a very communal feeling. I specifically remember going to Carleton when we were on our tour. We were going to go sit in my class, and I asked my dad to sit out in the main middle area of the quad, because it was a beautiful, this is like the nicest day Minnesota's ever had. It was like gorgeous, 70 fall day. And I had him sit in the middle of the campus. And I was like, okay, I want you to see after classes end, how many students stay outside on this day. Like, truthfully, that's what I asked him. And after we did the class sit-in and we went back and met up with him, he said, all the students immediately got out of class and went straight to their dorms. And I knew at that moment I was not going to Carleton. And I think a big thing for me is you can sit there and you can do all the research and you can sort of have your checklist of all the schools. But I know a lot of friends that have gone to other colleges that did the same thing, but went more on what they were looking for and not what they felt. And I think visiting some of these places and just feeling what it's like to be there is not the first thing you should do, but it is what will determine where you go. I think that is the biggest piece to sort of finish out how you're looking at places to sort of spend your next 4 years.
Awesome. Great point.
Along with what Owen said, I think the whole visiting part of the college searching process is a huge thing. For me, I think the biggest thing was like going into my college searching process, I had such a in stone plan of how I saw things going. And, the reality is that plans change. And once you do go visit those places, you start to picture your life there and things that, may change, and your expectation level can change as well. And that was something I kind of had to get used to and come to accept, but I never really expected my college process to go in the way that it has so far. But right now I can see myself happy and, excited, looking forward to where I might go. Again, things may change because I'm not fully done with it yet, but I think that's a huge part of the college process that I wasn't really expecting, which I probably should have. But definitely just, being able to realize that expectations may change in the best ways.
Awesome. Thank you for those answers all. The next question I have for you all is, what's one skill that you have found to help you be successful in college or university? And what did that look like here at Fountain Valley School? Or for Natalie and Maddie, what's one skill that you have found that you've either learned or grown in here at Fountain Valley and that's helped you with your success or your search as well?
I think the biggest thing that FVS sort of taught me, in a way, I guess I'll say this, is at FVS we have required afternoon activities, right? So you have, I think at the schedules, like I said, I'm old. I gotta remember. I think it's from 8-ish to around 3:15-ish is usually the full day, and then you've got required or 3, and then required afternoon activity from 3:15 to 5:15, more or less, if that's still how it is. And in college you get there and you just have, there's no requirement. I mean, you have to go to class, but depending on also what class it is, you sort of don't have to go to class in reality. And I guess being at FBS and having that constant sort of schedule and that constant sort of need, recognizing that, oh, I need to use my time and involve myself in things, allowed me to go to campus. And I was in my college and was sort of given all this free time. I was like, well, I want to fill it, right? I want what I had at FVS. And that really helped me immediately get into sort of friend groups at college, organizations at college, and sort of really get my foot in the door at the beginning. And I have a lot of friends now that started, looking, they felt that they want to start doing things, but that was by the end of their sophomore year. And so I'm already well integrated into the campus compared to a lot of my friends who are starting to find their footing and really sort of engage themselves in what they want to be doing. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think one thing for me was I don't have a lot of free time at school, and that's just because I play for the school club hockey team, and that takes up a lot of my time. Classes take up a lot of my time, and so finding places like Owen was saying to get those things is important, but then finding that time to study is also important. I think one skill that I learned at Fountain Valley that really kind of gave me a head start on a lot of my peers at A&M was just kind of knowing how to study. I think a lot of people are able to get by in high school by just kind of coasting a little bit, but it's definitely not the same. You can't do the same thing in college. And I think being able to sit down distraction free and at Fountain Valley with the closed study hall where you don't have your phone and the Wi-Fi cuts off, like social media apps, YouTube, Netflix, I don't have access to that. Even if I wanted to be distracted, it's my thumbs that's going to be distracting me. So learning to really just sit down distraction free and get my work done, that was super important for me at Fountain Valley. And I translated that skill to college because with such little free time, I need to make the best of that. I want to have fun as well. So I need to pick my spots when I'm going to study and how can I optimize that studying to make sure that I'm getting the most done distraction free. And I think that was not my biggest takeaway, but in terms of an important skill, I think I definitely appreciate that, those close study halls at Fountain Valley, because it's helped me study a lot in college.
Awesome. Natalie?
One thing I think that was really important for me to learn, again, it wasn't the most important thing, but just kind of taking time to like be away from people. Because at boarding school, especially if you're not a day student, you're there all the time. You have a roommate, maybe two roommates, and you're kind of surrounded by people. Like as an RA, especially I want to say junior year, I would like people would walk into my room all the time and be like, can you help me with this? And like, it was great. I loved the relationships that I had with people. But when someone comes and wakes you up at 3 a.m. to unclog the toilet, it feels a little less great. So kind of finding that time to, take time for yourself. Like one of the biggest things that I would do is go down to the soccer field and shoot balls at the shooting wall. It's like a big concrete wall and it just comes back at you. But just finding that time to kind of, be with yourself and ground yourself and be ready for, study hall and all that. So that was definitely an important thing for me.
Kind of along with what Mason said, I feel like Fountain Valley really teaches you how to time manage well. And for me, I was able to organize what needed to be prioritized in my college searching process, and that's helped me a lot. Because some things I would find a scholarship application that isn't due till like April, but I wanted to get it done earlier, and that way I can allow myself to have time to focus on things that needed to be had more time, I guess. And so waiting to push it to like the very last second, it was never a good thing. And so being able to really prioritize what needed to be done, and organize everything the way that it needed to be done is probably the best thing that's helped me.
Awesome. Thank you. So for the next question that I have for you guys, typically, I think in the college search process, especially with the people I've worked with, there's always this aha moment or this sort of epiphany, revelation, some sort of sign that tells you like, this might be the place. Can you guys sort of look back in your experience, or again, for Natalie and Maddie, as you guys are looking about it, are there certain things that you're saying like, yes, that is something that either I enjoy or is leaning me towards this institution?
Yeah, I can start here. So I kind of have taken a different approach than Owen and Natalie. I go to school with 70,000 people, which is contrary to the 250 person high school that I went to, and contrary to some of the smaller liberal arts colleges that are there. An aha moment for me, it was really like, it wasn't like one particular moment. Like I didn't commit to like going to college until late July. I was still kind of pursuing some hockey opportunities. And then I kind of decided it was a family decision. All right, let's settle down, let's go to school. And when I got into 5 schools, and obviously Texas A&M is close to home, it's there was a couple different things. So the first thing was just being at such a big school. One thing that I really liked about it was the opportunity to be in so many different like organizations. Obviously, every school has a diverse group of things that you can do. But at A&M with so many people, I was just super attracted by the opportunity to get to know so many people by joining various organizations. The club hockey team has helped me, massively. That was a big deciding factor. But just coming to campus, looking at just kind of this College Station is just a city that's only made for Texas A&M. I mean, it's just being in that environment, being around people who are always doing the same things that I'm doing. That was a big deciding factor for me, as well as just being able to participate in so many different activities.
Awesome. Thank you. Owen?
I sort of said my aha moment already with the Carleton campus, but I guess for me, it was a mix of, I had spent a lot of time looking at what I wanted in colleges And I guess the things that really sort of went aha to me or realized were when I looked at and started looking at aspects when I was at the colleges of like, oh, I actually don't, I know what I don't want. And so I sat there a lot and I like had this list of all these check things I need. But I also think it's important to sort of say, okay, there are limiting factors that I can use to rule out certain colleges. And though that will sort of help refine your search quite a lot more, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Natalie?
I don't really think I have a particular aha moment for a school, but kind of just in determining what I want versus what I don't want. Like this summer, when I wasn't working, I was often like outside climbing or hiking or doing whatever, biking maybe. So it kind of took being away from, I'm from a really big outdoorsy town in Utah. So it kind of took being away from Moab to see that I really love being in the outdoors and kind of being able to get away from like people and cities and whatever and just connect with like, being by myself and exploring and whatever. So I think when I sat down to, look at like where colleges were, something that was really important was that it was not necessarily like not in a city, but just access to the outdoors. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank
For
you.
me, I feel like kind of what I said earlier about like expectations. For me, I always wanted to like go to the biggest college or, do all these things. But really, like you start looking at some of the smaller colleges or places you don't really hear about, and you start to, check the boxes of, oh, this is actually what I want. This is where I see myself, like just having those moments like that. Like for me, I never wanted to stay in state for college, but I visited Fort Collins and I really liked it and I really saw myself there. But, just again, leaving your expectations flexible. That was kind of my aha moment. Like, I don't have to have an inset stone plan of, I need to apply to these places. I need to go here, just like I said, be flexible with it and, wherever it takes you, it takes you.
Awesome. So I think that's all the questions I have for the panelists. So what I would like to do is open the floor for a little bit of Q&A. So if anyone in the audience has any questions for our panelists, please feel free to unmute yourself or utilize the chat function. And I'm happy to, if you use the chat function, I'm happy to announce those. But yeah, we would love to take any questions you guys have.
Well, I'm just going to chime in here for a minute because I have to head off, but I just want to say a special thank you to all of our panelists. It's so wonderful to hear your affirmations of the work that is happening at the school. And again, if anyone has questions for me, please feel free to email me. And thank you for taking this time on a Saturday morning. Have a great day, everyone.
And thank you. So another call out for questions. If not, we'll do some last words. Yes, we have a question in the audience. If you want to unmute yourself, please feel free.
Hi, everybody. My name is Holly Witulski. My son Noah is going to shadow at Fountain Valley in a couple of weeks to potentially be an incoming freshman next year as a day program student. And he currently goes to a really small K-8 school where there is one class per grade, and it's actually smaller than FVS. He has 15 or 16 kids in his class. And so I actually have a question for the students of what drew you to Fountain Valley? How did you go? Were you in small town, small school like my kid? Did you need a smaller focus? And how did that help you from where you came to where you were to set yourself up for college?
So I live in Pueblo, Colorado, pretty small town. And it's actually funny, a lot of the high schools in our town were, at the time when I was picking where I was going to go, there was a lot of budgeting issues and stuff. And so it was just really complicated because I didn't want to have to move schools halfway through. And we actually had a family friend who was an alumni at Fountain Valley, and we had heard about Fountain Valley, but we were just like, there's no way, like it's not gonna happen. But after we heard his story and how he got his start, we're like, you know what, like we're just gonna try, because we heard about how amazing it was. But you know, it's a private boarding school, you know, and you just never think that like you can, you know, really accomplish those things, especially because I don't really come from a well-off family. We're not, you know, the richest people in the world. But I applied for my scholarship and I got a scholarship which helps me pay there. And so now we've my sister also attends, and my little brother, he's a sophomore this year. And I'm going to be graduating with my sister here this year. But it was kind of really a shot in the dark that we took, but we felt like it was what we needed to do that would be best for like our education. We knew it was the best of the best. And so that's kind of how I got my start here.
I can go. Actually, I don't think it's the same. I went to Colorado Springs School for majority of my life, which is also a very small school where we had about, my class was 22 in total. So FBS was bigger, and I think my graduating class at FBS was 68, something like that. I remember specifically, I mean, in sort of retrospective, I remember thinking that FBS was going to be a lot larger than when I was at CSS, but I remember specifically looking between the two, and I guess for me, I knew if I stayed at CSS, my class is going to get smaller because they do a K through 12, but their high school drops off significantly. I think for me, I know I wanted more, you know, obviously a larger class, and so that's one reason we looked at FVS, and it was still small enough that, I mean, I distinctly remember senior year, I knew everyone in my class almost, you know, beyond well, and I at least knew the first names of everybody else in every other class. I mean, you see people like every day on campus, just walking around, hanging out, through activities. In that sense, it still is a very small campus, but you're able to find and connect with people that are, you know, more similar to yourself, or that you'd have more, I guess saying you have more options, sort of a weird way to put it, but it is, I mean, it's a small community, but it is a little larger. So I thought it was a great change going from a class of around 15 to 20 to around 60 to 70. So
we go to CSS as well. Was there anything specific that made you want to go to Fountain Valley other than that? Was there anything special that caught your eye?
yes, I could actually talk a lot about the difference between CSS and FBS extensively. We did a lot of back and forth in my family about this. CSS is a wonderful place, but it pours all of its resources into its middle school, its high school, especially when I don't like that. I'm not at CSS anymore, but I know specifically when I was there, its middle school program was its most optimal or most quality program that it had. And then looking at the high school, comparing, like, you think about it, right? CSS has to spread its resources around a K through 12. Fountain Valley has to spread its resources through just 9 through 12. And that ability for FVS to focus meant that it has a much greater ability to provide a high school experience. Whereas I remember at CSS, being there, if you were like people that were in high school, were still, you know, hanging out with people in the lower grades because they sort of knew them from before. Not that that's a wrong thing, but I personally, I wanted a bit more of a high school experience, and also a bit of a new experience. I know a lot of people at CSS start there in K and they go all the way through 12, and they're sort of friends with the same people that are around from them the whole time. And FVS, being a boarding school, offers a great opportunity to not just meet people from around the state differently, but also from around the country or internationally. And that's one thing, like I said, one of my best friends that I knew in high school that I still talk to through Discord and online chats and things like that is from South Korea. And, you know, I followed him through his required year of military service, and we're still talking after that. It's, it's like, that's one thing I would have never gotten staying at CSS, like objectively. And so, like I said, there's a lot I could talk about there because I lived through it, but that was sort of the other main point that made me switch from CSS to FBS.
Awesome.
Yeah. Just to kind of touch on like why I picked FBS. So I was a boarder, and my first year was my sophomore year. My freshman year of high school, I went to a public school in Houston. We had 4,000 students in the school. I had 1,000 people in my class. So I kind of had a different transition. It wasn't like going small to big. It was going like really big to really small for me. And I remember like when I shadowed, so I did an overnight shadow program, and I remember the first day of classes, I go and sit down in like an 11-person history class with a teacher that's now retired, Dr. G, and I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of this freshman kid at surrounded by mountains. I'm from this big flat land in Houston. You can see as far as you can do anything, and I remember coming out of that class. This is like middle of the year. Coming out of that class, feeling like I learned something. And feeling like I had a takeaway from that class. And that's kind of, sometimes at home in my school, I would go to a 40-minute class, and I'd go to that class every day for the entire week. And I'd feel like I came out of that with nothing. And so having this, 75-minute class, walk out of there with what I felt like more information, what I felt like already a connection with the teacher and the students in the classroom, that was kind of what we were talking about, aha moments. That was my aha moment for Fountain Valley. And then just walking out of the classroom and being able to eat dinner outside and look at, Pikes Peak, just like right over there. I mean, that's like an out of body experience for me, not being from Colorado. And that was really what drew me to the school. Was immediately I had a relationship with that teacher, and it was just over an hour I was in his classroom. And I was able to make a group of friends in 2 days that I still talk to today. And that was when I shadowed. And that was something really special, was like being able to create those relationships in such a short time, and really feeling like I walked away with something even before I got there.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Mason.
Yep.
Yeah, Mason, thank you. The panel, thank you so much. You guys did an awesome job. But Mason, so we're from Houston too, and our plan is to move to Colorado Springs for Zane to be a day student. Thank you so much for what you shared. And yeah, Houston is very, very flat. What made you decide to do a boarding school rather than stay in Houston?
So there was a variety of factors. Like I said, I was in a huge high school, and I think one thing, it was like November of my freshman year. We're 3 months into school. Parent-teacher conferences are coming by. My parents go and sit down with my biology teacher, and she didn't know who I was. And I had been in that class for 3 months. That lady didn't know my name. She didn't know like that, I sat in the front of the class, and she didn't know my name. And I go to that class every day, 5 days a week for 3 months. And that was kind of like, whoa, that's a little weird. And so that's kind of, that moment is kind of where we started talking about maybe we could start looking at smaller school opportunities. And obviously there are private schools in Houston. There are private schools closer to home. But my family, my mother is from Taiwan. My dad's from Canada. So I spent a lot of time away from home, and looking at boarding schools became an option just because we kind of knew that I would be okay being away from home, and that would be a new experience for me. And I also play ice hockey, and that was another thing that kind of went into this decision. Fountain Valley had a hockey team; they had a good hockey team, and it's also just it was a big variety of things. But I think primarily the moment that we started the search was when that teacher just didn't know who I was. And I really wanted to find something where I could build relationships with faculty, not only my peers, but also the faculty. And I've come away from Fountain Valley with the phone numbers of almost all of my teachers. And I've actually been able to secure an internship for this summer through contacting one of my teachers at Fountain Valley. And she put me on with some colleagues from previous. And that's something I never would have gotten at the big public school scene in Houston.
I'm just gonna
Thank you, Mason.
really quickly tell this family that was just speaking that we live in Denver, Colorado, and we are also looking at if our son attended Fountain Valley, he would be a day student. We would move down to Colorado Springs so he could be a day student. So yeah.
One of the things too, I originally came from the Northeast, from the Boston area. And one of the things that kind of amazed me when I was looking at new jobs and new opportunities, especially with the Colorado Springs area and our campus, is it's kind of the best of both worlds. You have 1,100 acres of prairie and 12 miles of prairie, which you can go running and mountain biking and horseback riding in. But then 5 minutes down the road, there's a Starbucks and a Target and a Walmart as well. So I think that's such a great thing for our students who are coming from heavy city areas or students who from more rural areas, kind of having both of those best worlds and those opportunities as well. And I've enjoyed moving and living in Colorado Springs. So for you guys looking in Colorado Springs, it's an exciting place for sure. But awesome. Any other questions before we wrap up from our audience?
Hey there, I do have a question. We've got a daughter who's looking to come in at 9th grade next in the fall. We are from Colorado Springs, so if anybody's thinking about Colorado Springs, it's really the idea of relocating. It's a really, like Santiago said, it's a really, really great city, a great combination of like nature plus city. The question I had is, as like an incoming freshman, what does the exposure to colleges look like? How does that college exposure start early on? Like what schools come to visit? You know, if you have a child who doesn't know, like, do I want a huge like Texas A&M type of school versus a small Colorado college type of school versus a big state university? What's the process that the students are exposed to different types of colleges and experiences that could be there? How are they, and what does that look like, even starting off as a freshman year? And I want to say thank you to all the panelists. You know, it's just great hearing your experiences. So thank you again for everybody who's contributed. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I think Natalie, you might have an answer.
Yeah, so something that kind of surprised me was how you can get involved as a freshman in the college process, which is kind of interesting because most people don't even think about it till a junior or even a senior in high school. So COVID started my freshman year, so it was a little different, but basically what we had were, there's like this list that gets posted. It's like both online and there's like a couple posters around school. But it has a list of like the colleges visiting that week. And so sometimes they'd be on Zoom, and sometimes they were in person, but even as a freshman, you could go meet with these colleges. Like, I think I met with like Tufts University, and just that exposure to kind of, you know, talking with people who are from there, you can ask them questions and kind of start building those personal relationships with the like regional officers for your area was really important. And then also it's kind of, you can see what you maybe don't like, and then you're like, okay, that school's like crossed off my list, or I really like that school or whatever.
Yeah, Maddie?
I know the college office, you know, just them being in that environment of, you know, just having connections. I know that there were some colleges that I was kind of interested in that were unfortunately not coming to Fountain Valley, but I knew I was interested in them. And Mr. Badger, the current college counselor at Fountain Valley, he was able to put me in contact with them. And so I could actually have like personal conversations with them as well, and you know, have you know, conversations about things with like scholarships, admission process, actual detailed conversations with someone who's actually there, and they didn't have to come to me. You know, I was able to contact them through the connections of Mr. Badger, which was awesome.
And just to intersect, I think one area that I see here joining this community, where students prepare that 9th and 10th grade, I think is through a lot of the social and emotional learning and some of the different like chapter 1 programs that the 9th graders experience. Like as I mentioned before, starting the college search process, you want to have a sense of idea of one, who you are and what you need to be successful and what you're looking for. And a lot of that comes through experiences and just figuring yourself out as well. So there's student life meetings, chapter 1, a variety of different programs that take place throughout the 4 years where students, again, have that reflective period of asking themselves, what are the things I like, the things I don't like, and the things I need to be successful, or the opportunities I want to see. Something that a mentor of mine always told me, and I tell everybody, is you want to find a place that's going to continue to refine your passions, but also give you the opportunity to discover new ones as well. So I think that Fountain Valley does that pretty well too, in giving students new opportunities to try out as well. But great question. Any other answers from our panelists in that one?
I kind of just wanted to add on to that. I really agree with Mr. Durango. And I think the first few years of high school for me, I did a lot of my own soul searching and really figuring out who I was. I wouldn't say I got like super involved with the specifics of the college process, but I did figure out a lot about myself, which helped a lot in my later years of high school, trying to figure out, you know, really what I wanted. And like chapter 1 that was mentioned, you know, you really like go into like the deepest parts of yourself to like figure out yourself. And I think the school really helps with that, especially with like just the friendships that you make, you know, the teachers that you connect with, things like that. And you do those early on in your high school career, which helps a lot when it comes to your junior and senior year when you're actually trying to find your college.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. Any last minute questions? We'll probably take one more from the audience if anyone has any. And then if not, I know it's a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon for some of you. Thank you all. Thank you to our panelists. Again, you guys have done a fantastic job. We appreciate your wise words and wisdom and your time as well. But for our audience, thank you once again for taking the time on a Saturday to join us to learn more about college readiness here at Fountain Valley School and learn a little bit more about our school. If you, again, have any questions about Fountain Valley School or the admissions process, do not hesitate to get in touch with us. We're happy to help and support you. But otherwise, we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you all soon, hopefully at another admissions event. Well, thank you all.